In 1520, in the golden throne room of Topkapi Palace, a 26-year-old sultan faced a room full of warriors 3 times his age. Men who had conquered kingdoms before he learned to walk. Men who saw him as a boy playing king. One gray-bearded general, a man who'd taken Belgrade with his bare hands, asked the question everyone was thinking. Sultan Suleiman, you are young, untested. How will you command men who conquered empires before you were born? The room fell silent. This was the test. One wrong word, and the empire would devour him from within. Suleiman didn't raise his voice. He didn't defend himself. He didn't list his credentials or invoke his bloodline. Instead, he said 7 words that changed the trajectory of history. I do not command men. I position them so they command themselves. The general bowed immediately, not out of fear, out of recognition. He had just witnessed true power. This is the paradox every sultan understood, and every powerless man today has forgotten. Real power is not loud. It's not force. It's not what you take from others. It's what others willingly give when you master one forbidden psychological principle. If you've ever felt overlooked at work, disrespected in relationships, or invisible in rooms where you should be heard, this is why. You're broadcasting the opposite of power every single day without knowing it. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what Suleiman knew. How he ruled for 46 years without losing a single war. How he turned enemies into advisors and advisors into believers. But to understand how he discovered this method, you need to know where he started, and it wasn't on a throne. Manisa, 1512, 8 years before that throne room. The marble courtyards of the prince's palace glowed amber in the late afternoon sun. The scent of jasmine drifted through colonnades where future sultans trained for the weight of empire.
In the distance, the call to prayer echoed across terracotta rooftops. 18-year-old Suleiman sat alone in the library, surrounded by law scrolls and philosophy texts. Outside, his older brothers sparred with wooden swords, their laughter bouncing off stone walls. Inside, Suleiman traced his finger along Ottoman legal codes, memorizing precedents most princes ignored. His father, Selim the Grim, walked past the library entrance, stopped, looked at his son buried in books while his brothers trained like warriors. Your brothers understand what it takes to rule, Selim said, his voice like gravel. Empires are won with swords, not scrolls. Scholars write history, warriors make it. Suleiman said nothing. His father's shadow lingered in the doorway for 3 heartbeats, then disappeared. That night there was a gathering in the great hall, governors, military commanders, visiting dignitaries. Suleiman's brother Mehmed stood at the center, demonstrating a wrestling technique he'd learned from a Janissary captain. The crowd applauded. Mehmed caught Suleiman entering the hall, grinned. "Brother, come, let me show you how real men settle disputes." He gestured to the mat. The room went quiet. Suleiman walked toward him. Every eye followed. "Or perhaps you'd prefer we debate philosophy?" Mehmed's voice dripped with mock courtesy. "A sultan needs a sword, not a book. When our father dies, the throne will go to a man, not a poet." The courtiers laughed, some nervously, some genuinely. Suleiman stopped 3 paces from his brother, looked him in the eye, said nothing. The silence stretched. Mehmed's grin faltered. Then Suleiman turned, walked out of the hall, left his brother standing there, hand still extended. In that moment, Suleiman understood something that would define his reign. Reacting to disrespect is the fastest way to confirm it. Later that night, he found his tutor, Ibrahim Pasha, in the garden.
"You walked away," Ibrahim said, not looking up from the fountain where he was washing his hands. "I had nothing to say." "Wrong. You had everything to say. You said it with silence." Ibrahim finally looked at him. "Your brother thinks power is loud. Watch what happens tomorrow when your father gives an order." The next morning, Selim commanded both brothers to organize provisions for a military campaign. 300 men, 2 weeks of supplies. Mehmed shouted orders at servants, demanded, threatened. The work got done, but slowly, reluctantly. Men moved like they were wading through mud. Suleiman did something different. He walked through the supply depot and asked each head servant a single question. "What do you need to make this happen faster?" One needed more porters. Suleiman positioned soldiers to help. Another needed clarification on rations. Suleiman pulled out the supply scrolls and showed him. A third was bottlenecked by a locked storehouse. Suleiman found the keymaster and quietly resolved it. 4 hours later, Mehmed's provisions were half finished. Suleiman's were loaded and ready. Selim walked through the courtyard, saw both operations, said nothing. But Suleiman caught the look in his father's eyes, the slightest nod, a shift in the air between them. 8 years later, that boy who was mocked became Suleiman the Magnificent, the longest reigning sultan in Ottoman history. 46 years on the throne, 13 major military campaigns, 0 defeats. Not because he was the strongest, because he understood what his brother never learned. There are 2 types of power in this world. Power you take by force, which everyone resists, and power you absorb by positioning, which no one can take away. Suleiman mastered the second. The Ottomans called it Heybet, and it's the reason you feel powerless right now. Heybet. In Turkish, it means awe-inspiring presence, but that translation is weak. Heybet is not charisma. Charisma seeks approval. Heybet is not intimidation. Intimidation requires effort. Heybet is the gravitational force of absolute certainty. When you have it, rooms reorganize around you, without you saying a word. Suleiman's first year as Sultan, 1520. The Janissaries were restless. These weren't ordinary soldiers. They were the elite core of the empire. Taken as boys, raised as warriors, loyal to no family but the Sultan himself. And they had a tradition. Every time a new sultan took the throne, they rioted, a test, to see if the new ruler could be controlled. Previous sultans bought peace, triple wages, land grants, concessions. Suleiman's advisors burst into his private chambers 3 weeks into his reign. Sultan, the Janissary commanders are demanding audience. They want triple their wages immediately, or they threaten to march on the palace. The empire could fracture before it even began. Suleiman didn't rush. He finished reading the document in front of him, set down his pen, stood. Bring them to the throne room. His advisors exchanged nervous glances. Sultan, perhaps we should negotiate first, prepare an offer. Bring them now. 20 minutes later, 5 Janissary commanders stood in the throne room. Battle-scarred men who'd seen 3 sultans come and go. They expected Suleiman to sit on the elevated throne, to use height as power. He didn't. Suleiman stood at floor level, eye to eye with them. This broke every protocol. Sultans sat, subjects stood below. He walked slowly toward them. They tensed. He stopped 3 paces away. When he spoke, his voice was quiet. They had to lean in to hear. You have served this empire with honor, bled for it, sacrificed for it. I will not insult that honor by negotiating with you like a merchant in a bazaar, haggling over spices. Pause, the kind of silence that makes men hold their breath. Your wages will double, not because you demanded it, but because I value you. One commander opened his mouth to speak.
Suleiman raised one finger, barely. The man closed his mouth. But if any man raises his voice in this palace again, demanding what he believes he's owed, he will discover that my mercy has limits. Generosity given freely is grace. Generosity extracted by force is weakness, and I am not weak. He turned, walked away, didn't wait for their response, didn't ask if they agreed, simply left the room. The commanders stood there for 10 seconds. Then, one by one, they bowed, even though Suleiman was gone, even though no one was watching. They never rioted, not once in 46 years. Here's why it worked. 3 elements of Heybet that Suleiman weaponized. First, controlled disclosure. Suleiman revealed only what served him. He didn't explain his reasoning, didn't justify his decision, didn't defend against their implied threat. Mystery is power. The moment you over-explain, you're seeking validation, and validation seeking is the opposite of power. Second, strategic stillness. No reactive energy. When his advisors panicked, Suleiman stayed calm, finished his work, moved deliberately. Panic is contagious, so is certainty. Every time you react immediately to a text, an insult, a demand, you broadcast that others control your emotional state. Suleiman controlled his own state, always. Third, frame control. Suleiman reframed their demand into his gift. They came asking for wages as if they held leverage. He gave them wages as if he held brace. Same outcome, completely different power dynamic. Whoever controls the frame controls the outcome. That single interaction set the tone for 46 years. The Janissaries, the most dangerous force in the empire, the kingmakers who'd assassinated sultans before, never questioned him again. Not because he threatened them, because he positioned them to respect themselves, and by extension, him. Suleiman went on to use Heybet everywhere.
In diplomatic negotiations with European kings who tried to intimidate him with shows of wealth, he responded with silence and minimal gestures. In the harem, where palace politics could destroy sultans, he spoke little, but everyone listened. On battlefields where generals needed orders, he gave directions once and expected obedience. A Venetian ambassador wrote in his diary, and this is a real historical record. The Sultan speaks little, but when he does, even the walls seem to listen. I have met kings who fill rooms with their voices. Suleiman fills rooms with his presence. You're thinking that's a sultan commanding empires. I'm not leading armies. Wrong. You're commanding something far more important. Your own life, your career, your relationships, your reputation. And right now, you're failing. Because modern neuroscience reveals exactly why Heybet works on the human brain, and why you accidentally trigger the opposite effect every single day. In 2018, researchers at Princeton University studied what they called perceived competence. Who gets listened to in meetings, who gets ignored, who gets promoted, who stays invisible. They found that humans make power assessments in 0.2 seconds, faster than conscious thought, faster than you can decide to make a good impression. And here's the part that changes everything. These assessments aren't based on what you say. They're based on behavioral cues your body broadcasts before you even open your mouth. 3 cues dominated every interaction: stillness under pressure, controlled vocal tone, non-reactive body language. The Ottomans didn't have fMRI machines. They didn't call it neuroscience. They called it Heybet, but they knew. Here's what happens in the brain. When someone is reactive, angry, defensive, over-explaining, your amygdala weeds it as either threat or weakness. Either way, you don't respect them. You either fear them or dismiss them, but you don't follow them.
When someone is calm, your nervous system mirrors it. This is the function of mirror neurons. They're why yawns are contagious, why you feel tense around tense people, why Suleiman's stillness made the Janissaries still. He didn't tell them to calm down. Their brains had no choice but to match his state. A Harvard study from 2016 found something even more specific. The brain assigns status based on response time. People who react fast to questions, to texts, to requests, the brain codes them as low status, approval-seeking, eager to please. People who respond slowly, deliberately, as if they're deciding whether you're worth their time. High status, outcome independent. Connect this to Suleiman. He didn't sit on the throne. He broke the expected status ritual. This created amygdala confusion. The brain had to recalibrate. That moment of confusion is attention, and attention is the first step to influence. He spoke quietly, forced them to adjust to him. This is frame control at the neurological level. Whoever others adjust to is the frame holder. He walked away without waiting for a response, the ultimate status signal. His outcome didn't depend on their approval. Now here's the brutal part. Your brain has the same mechanisms, but you're triggering them backwards. When your boss criticizes you, you explain immediately. Low status signal. When someone disrespects you, you react emotionally. Your amygdala flags you as a threat to be managed, not a person to respect. When you try to convince people you're valuable, their mirror neurons detect seeking behavior, not certainty. You're not powerless because you lack ability. You're powerless because your behavior broadcasts powerlessness at a neurological level that bypasses all conscious thought. And this is where it gets personal, because I'm about to show you exactly where you're doing this right now. In your texts, your emails, your conversations, your entire life. This will be uncomfortable, but necessary.
Let's talk about you right now, because you're doing the exact opposite of Heybet every single day and wondering why people don't respect you. You think you're being nice. You think you're being reasonable. You're not. You're being powerless, and everyone around you knows it except you. Here's how. Over-explaining. Your boss questions your decision. You launch into a 10-minute explanation, justifying every detail, defending every choice, proving you thought it through. Suleiman would state the decision once, then walk away. Let the outcome speak. The signal you send when you over-explain. I need your approval to feel confident in my own judgment. Reactive texting. Someone texts you. You respond within 30 seconds every time. Always available, always eager. Suleiman used controlled disclosure. He responded when he decided the time was right, not when summoned like a servant. Your signal. My time has no value. I'm sitting here waiting for you to need me. Seeking validation.
You accomplish something. Immediately you tell everyone, post it online, need the recognition, need someone to confirm it matters. Suleiman let others discover his victories. Power doesn't announce itself, it gets announced by others. Your signal: I need external proof that I matter because I don't believe it myself. Avoiding conflict. Someone disrespects you. You laugh it off, change the subject, keep the peace. You tell yourself you're being mature. You're not. You're being afraid. Suleiman addressed disrespect once, calmly, with a clear boundary, then never addressed it again. Your signal: I'm afraid of your disapproval more than I value my own dignity. Explaining your worth. Job interview, first date. You list your achievements. You try to impress. You convince them you're valuable. Suleiman used strategic stillness. He asked questions, made them prove their value to him. Your signal: I'm auditioning for your acceptance. Please choose me.
You're not powerless because of your circumstances. You're powerless because of your patterns. Suleiman faced generals who wanted him dead. You face a difficult conversation with your manager. Suleiman positioned an empire that lasted 600 years. You can't position yourself in a single relationship. Suleiman commanded 100,000 men by mastering one, himself. You can't command your own morning routine. The gap isn't capability, it's psychology. You check your phone 40 times before noon. Suleiman meditated in silence for 2 hours at dawn. You apologize 3 times in one email. Suleiman never apologized for decisive action. You say yes when you mean no because you're afraid someone won't like you. Suleiman said no to kings and made them thank him for the clarity. And here's the worst part. You've been doing this so long, you think it's who you are. It's not. It's just behavior. And behavior can change. But most people won't change it because these patterns feel safe. Over-explaining feels responsible. Being available feels kind. Seeking validation feels humble. Avoiding conflict feels mature. They're not. They're just fear wearing different masks. But here's the truth. Heybet was only the first principle. The one that stops you from bleeding power. The one that teaches you presence. The second principle, Temeyyüz, is how you actually take power, how you position yourself so opportunities flow to you instead of you chasing them, how you become the only option instead of the best option in a crowd of dozens. This is where Suleiman went from respected to legendary, and this is where most men stay stuck forever, because they never learn the difference between presence and positioning. Temeyyüz, the second principle. In Ottoman Turkish, it means to distinguish oneself through strategic positioning. But here's what it really means: becoming the only option, not the best option. Anyone can try to be the best. There are 1,000 people trying to be the best at your job, the best partner, the best candidate. You're competing in a crowd. Suleiman made himself the only, and there's a massive difference. Let me show you the moment he did it. 1525. Europe is locked in a power struggle. Two superpowers. The Ottoman Empire, Muslim, controlling the East. The Habsburg Empire, Catholic, controlling the West. They've been enemies for centuries. Then King Francis I of France gets captured by the Habsburgs in battle, imprisoned, humiliated. France is on the verge of collapse. Everyone expects the Christian kingdoms to unite against the Muslim Ottomans. That's how it's always worked. Religion trumps politics. Europe versus the East. Suleiman sees something else. He sees opportunity. He sends a letter to Francis while he's still rotting in a Habsburg prison. The letter says this: "My enemy's enemy is not my friend. He's my opportunity." Suleiman offers an alliance, full Ottoman military support, access to trade routes that would make France the wealthiest kingdom in Europe. One condition: France sides with the Ottomans against the Habsburgs. Francis's advisors lose their minds. This is heresy, political suicide. A Christian king allying with a Muslim empire against fellow Christians. The Pope would excommunicate him. History would call him a traitor. Francis is desperate. He's imprisoned. His kingdom is dying. He has two choices: ally with Suleiman or lose everything to the Habsburgs. He chooses Suleiman. 1536. The Franco-Ottoman alliance is formed. It scandalizes Europe, but it works. Here's the genius. Suleiman didn't try to make the Ottomans the best ally for France. That was impossible. The cultural divide was too vast, the religious difference too great. He couldn't out-Christian the Christians. Instead, he made the Ottomans the only ally who could counter Habsburg power. He positioned France with a binary choice: ally with us or lose everything. There was no third option. He'd already eliminated it by being at war with the Habsburgs. He reframed the entire narrative. It stopped being Christian versus Muslim. It became power balance versus Habsburg tyranny. He made Francis look strategic, not heretical. The alliance lasted over 200 years. Into the 1700s, it permanently changed European politics. Suleiman became the kingmaker of Europe. Christian kings sought his favor. Venice allied with the Ottomans. Poland made treaties. Even some German states broke from the Habsburgs to gain Ottoman support. All because of positioning, not military dominance. Positioning. Let me break down the 4 laws of Temeyyüz that Suleiman used. Laws you can use tomorrow. Law 1. Create scarcity of access. Suleiman didn't offer this alliance to multiple kingdoms. That would dilute its value. He offered it to one, made it exclusive. Scarcity creates value. If you're available to everyone, you're valuable to no one. Make access to you scarce. Law 2. Position at the intersection of conflict. Suleiman inserted the Ottomans exactly where two powers collided. France needed a counter to Habsburgs. Habsburgs needed to neutralize France. Ottomans became the fulcrum. Whoever had Ottoman support won. Find where two forces in your world need arbitration, a gap between departments at work, two skill sets that don't communicate, two groups that need a bridge. Position yourself there. You become the linchpin. Law 3. Control the alternatives. Francis had two options: ally with Suleiman or be destroyed by Habsburgs. Suleiman eliminated option 3, allying with Habsburgs, by already being at war with them. He structured the situation so he wasn't competing. He was the only logical path. In your negotiations, your pitches, your relationships, don't compete to be chosen among many. Structure the situation so you're the only path forward. Law 4. Reframe the narrative.
Suleiman shifted European politics from Christian versus Muslim to power balance versus tyranny. He controlled the story people told themselves about why they needed him. When you're positioned correctly, people don't see you as a vendor, a candidate, an option. They see you as the solution, the only one that makes sense. The results speak for themselves. The Franco-Ottoman alliance lasted 2 centuries. It made the Ottoman Empire the dominant force in European politics for generations. Not through conquest, through positioning. The French historian Fernand Braudel studied this era for 40 years. He wrote one sentence that captures everything. Suleiman did not conquer Europe. He made Europe reorganize around him. That's Temeyyüz. That's the second principle. You're thinking, I'm not negotiating with kingdoms. I don't have empires and alliances. You're wrong. You're negotiating with bosses who decide your salary, clients who decide if they hire you, partners who decide if they respect you, friends who decide if they value your time. And you're losing because you're trying to be the best option in a crowded field, the best candidate among 50, the best partner among dozens of profiles, the best friend in a group of 10. Suleiman shows you how to stop competing, how to position yourself so you're not the best, you're the only. But to see the full power of this, you need to witness the moment Suleiman combined both principles, Heybet and Temeyyüz, presence and positioning, used together in one decision that defined his entire legacy. The moment he faced his greatest test and turned a defeat into a legend. September, Suleiman marches 100,000 troops toward Vienna, the capital of the Habsburg Empire, the heart of Christian Europe. His goal is not to conquer Vienna, it's to position himself as Europe's ultimate power broker, to prove that no city, no matter how fortified, is beyond Ottoman reach. But there's a problem. Early winter is coming. His supply lines are stretched across 800 miles. His troops are exhausted, and Vienna's walls are the strongest in Europe. 30 feet of stone, defended by 20,000 soldiers
who know if they fall, all of Europe falls with them. His advisors pull him aside after 3 weeks of siege. Sultan, we should withdraw. We cannot take the city before winter. If we stay, we lose half the army to cold and starvation. Suleiman knows they're right. Militarily, this is unwinnable. But he also knows this. Withdrawing looks like defeat. Looking defeated destroys Temeyyüz. His entire strategic position in Europe collapses if he retreats like a king who overreached. This is the test. How do you maintain power when you cannot win? Here's what he does. He orders the siege to continue for 3 more weeks. Maximum visible destruction. The largest cannons in the world bombard the walls day and night. Entire sections collapse. The city is in ruins. Smoke rises over Vienna like a black sun. All of Europe is watching. Then Suleiman sends a message, not to Vienna, to Emperor Charles V, who isn't even in Vienna. He's in Spain, 1,000 miles away. The message says this: I have stood at the gates of your capital. I have broken your walls. I have chosen not to enter. Not because I cannot, but because Vienna is not worthy of my time. When I decide your empire is worth conquering, you will know. Until then, remember this: I was here, and I left when I chose. He withdraws the army, deliberately, publicly, with full ceremony. Here's the genius. He reframes the retreat as choice. That's Heybet, controlled narrative. He didn't lose, he chose to leave. And because he controlled the story, that's what history recorded. But the deeper move is Temeyyüz. He positions the Ottomans as a permanent threat, not a defeated enemy. A lion that walked into your house, looked around, and decided you weren't worth eating, yet. The result is perfect. Europe doesn't say Suleiman failed. They say Suleiman showed mercy. Charles V has to treat the Ottomans as an equal power, because you don't mock someone who just proved they can reach your capital whenever they want. For the next 20 years, European kingdoms send tributes, seek Ottoman favor, walk on eggshells. Suleiman never goes back to Vienna. He doesn't need to. The threat is more powerful than the conquest. Think about what just happened. He lost the battle, but won the psychological war. He turned a military retreat into a political victory, because he understood the principle that separates sultans from slaves. The narrative is the weapon. Control it, and you never lose. Remember the throne room, when the general asked how a young sultan would command older men. I do not command men, I position them so they command themselves. Suleiman positioned all of Europe to respect him, without taking Vienna, without winning the siege. He lost the city,
but won the continent. That's the power of combining presence with positioning, Heybet with Temeyyüz. Most men have neither. Some men have one. Suleiman had both, and that made him untouchable. You're facing your own Vienna right now, a goal you can't quite reach, a battle you're losing, a situation where winning looks impossible. You have two options. Keep fighting until you collapse and everyone watches you fail, or reframe the entire situation so that walking away looks like choice, not defeat. Suleiman teaches you the second path. Control the narrative. Position the retreat as strategy. Make them remember you were there and you decided to leave. That's how you turn every loss into legend, every setback into setup, every defeat into myth. Now comes the only question that matters. What are you actually going to do with this? Because knowledge without action is just entertainment. And you didn't watch 30 minutes of Ottoman history to be entertained. You watched it to change.
I know what you're thinking. This is history. I'm not negotiating with empires. How do I use this at my job, in my relationship, in my daily life? Here's exactly how. 5 steps. Start today. 30 days from now, you'll be unrecognizable. Step 1. Eliminate reactive language. This is your Heybet foundation. Remove 3 phrases from your vocabulary immediately. Sorry, unless you've caused actual harm. Just, as in just checking in, or just following up. Does that make sense? Which is you seeking validation for your own thoughts. Replace them with silence or direct statements. I'm following up on the proposal, not sorry to bother you, just wondering if maybe you had a chance to look at the thing I sent. Every weak phrase broadcasts low status. Suleiman spoke 70% less than other sultans, but every word landed like a stone in still water. Practice this. Record yourself in one conversation today. Count your weak phrases. You'll be horrified. Eliminate 1 phrase per week until they're gone. Step 2. The 3-hour rule. This trains Heybet discipline. Never respond to non-urgent texts or emails within 3 hours. Even if you read it immediately, even if you know the answer. Wait 3 hours minimum. Why? Controlled disclosure. You train people that your attention is scarce, which makes it valuable. Suleiman made foreign ambassadors wait days for audiences with him. You can wait 3 hours to respond to your co-worker. Exception for genuine emergencies. Hospital, fire, death. Not boss needs report slightly sooner than discussed. Step 3. Strategic
unavailability. This is Temeyyüz scarcity in action. 1 day per week, be unreachable for 4 hours. Turn off your phone. Don't announce it. Don't explain it beforehand. Just disappear. When you return, don't over-explain where you were. I was handling something. That's it. The mystery is the point. People will stop assuming you're always available.
Suleiman disappeared into his private chambers for days sometimes. The empire ran better because it forced his advisors to solve problems instead of asking permission for every decision. Step 4. Position at intersections. This is direct Temeyyüz application. Identify where 2 forces in your life need a bridge. 2 departments at work that don't communicate. 2 friend groups that don't overlap. 2 skills that rarely combine. Position yourself as the only person who connects them. You know design and engineering. Become the translator. You understand client needs and product limitations. Become irreplaceable. Ask yourself this question every week. Where am I currently competing to be the best? How can I reposition to be the only? Step 5. Weekly power audit. Every Sunday, review your week. Ask 3 questions. When did I over-explain? That's a Heybet violation. When did I react immediately instead of responding deliberately? Another Heybet violation. Where am I competing instead of positioning? That's violating Temeyyüz. Write down 1 behavior to change next week. Just 1. This is how transformation happens, not through massive overhauls, through small, consistent corrections. Here's the timeline if you actually do this. Week 1, uncomfortable. You'll feel rude. You're not. You're recalibrating decades of conditioning. Week 2 and 3, people test you. They'll ask why you're being weird. Hold the line. Don't explain. Don't justify. Week 4, the shift happens. People start treating you differently. More respect, more space. They stop expecting instant responses. They start valuing your time. Month 2 and 3, positioning pays off. Opportunities come to you instead of you chasing them. People seek your opinion instead of you offering it unsolicited. Month 6, you become the person others seek approval from, not the other way around. But here's the warning. 99% of you will not do this. You'll watch this video, feel inspired for 20 minutes, then go back to over-explaining and over-functioning and wondering why nothing changes. Why? Because staying powerless is easier than being uncomfortable for 30 days. So here's my challenge. Pick 1 step, just 1. Do it for 7 days, then comment which one you chose. If you can't commit to 1 behavior change for 1 week, you don't want power. You want the fantasy of it. Suleiman became Suleiman because he did the hard thing when no one was watching. That's the difference between sultans and subjects. There are 2 types of people watching this video right now. Type 1,
You'll close this tab in 30 seconds. Maybe you'll think about it tomorrow. Maybe you'll tell yourself, I should try that, but you won't. 6 months from now, you'll still be over-explaining to your boss, still waiting for someone to text you back, still wondering why rooms go quiet when you speak, still invisible. Type 2. You'll feel uncomfortable right now. You'll resist what I'm saying, but you'll pick one step. You'll do it scared. You'll hold the line when people push back. And 6 months from now, you'll look back at this moment and realize this was when everything changed. The difference between these two people isn't talent, isn't circumstances, isn't luck. It's one decision. Here's path A, the one most men take. You stay nice. You keep explaining yourself to people who stopped listening 3 sentences ago. You stay available 24/7 like a customer service line. You keep trying to prove your worth to people who will never see it because you're showing them you don't see it yourself. 5 years from now, you're in the same position, or worse. Same job with a fancier title that means nothing. Relationships that drain you. Friends who don't respect your time. A quiet desperation you can't name, but feel every morning.
You'll watch younger people with less experience get promoted past you, get respect you've been begging for. And you'll tell yourself they got lucky. Life isn't fair. The system is rigged. It's not luck. It's Heybet. It's Temeyyüz. It's the principles you learned today and ignored tomorrow. Here's path B, the one sultans take. You commit to 30 days. You eliminate reactive language. You practice the 3-hour rule. You position yourself at intersections. It's hard. Your coworkers think you're being cold. Your friends say you've changed. Your family asks what's wrong. Nothing's wrong. You're finally right. 6 months from now, you notice the shift. People wait for your response instead of expecting it instantly. They seek your opinion. They adjust their schedules to yours. Opportunities appear that you didn't apply for. 2 years from now, you're negotiating from power, not desperation. Choosing relationships, not settling for them. Building something that matters. A business, a family, a legacy people remember. Someone asks, when did you change? You'll remember this video, this moment, the decision you made right now. Suleiman was 26 when he faced that room of generals. He could have sought their approval, could have tried to convince them he was worthy. He didn't. He decided. He became a sultan that day, not because of his title, because of his choice. You don't need a throne. You need a decision. Right now. This second. Which path? If you choose path B, remember where this started. Remember what Suleiman taught us. Remember how this started. 1520, Topkapi Palace. A general asks the young sultan, "How will you command men 3 times your age?" Suleiman's answer, "I do not command men. I position them so they command themselves." For 37 minutes, you've been learning what that really means. It's not a tactic, it's a philosophy. The understanding that power is not what you take from others. It's what they cannot help but give when you master yourself first. Suleiman ruled for 46 years, longer than almost any leader in history. Not because he was the strongest warrior, because he understood the paradox. The more you seek power, the more it escapes you. The more you embody power, the more it finds you. Heybet is embodiment, presence, the gravitational force of certainty. Temeyyüz is positioning, making yourself the only option, not the best among many. Together, they make you inevitable. The generals bowed that day, not because Suleiman forced them, because he gave them permission to respect someone worthy of respect. That's what you're doing now, not chasing respect, becoming worthy of it. If this video changed something in you, if you felt that shift in your chest, then you're ready for what comes next. This channel is not for everyone. It's for men who refuse to stay powerless, men who study sultans and warriors and emperors, not to escape reality, but to conquer it. Men who understand that the ancient world has answers the modern world desperately needs. Every week, we explore the forbidden methods they don't teach you. Next video, the Ottoman method for building unshakable discipline, the Janissary training system that turned peasant boys into the most feared warriors in history, how they eliminated weakness, how they built pain tolerance that made them legends. Subscribe now. Join the few who choose the hard path, because easy men are everywhere. Sultans are rare. Suleiman didn't command 100,000 men. He commanded one, himself. The empire followed. Master yourself. The rest is positioning. The Sultan's